This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
I think Adam Levy has just uploaded a compilation kind of playing clips video that I'm involved with a bunch of other cool players, including kind of Tim Lurch and Jack Bruce and Adam himself, Alex Farron. I've probably missed a bunch of names because I'm just saying this now. I've not watched the video yet. But Adam Levy also has a Truefire course, which I've enjoyed kind of playing along to. It's got a really chilled vibe to it. Like a lot of Adam's playing, it's kind of super tasteful, and there's like this really cool section where you can kind of trade solos with him. So you play the chords whilst he solos, and then you kind of go back and you take a solo whilst he plays the chords. It's a really interesting kind of interactive way of doing stuff. You can get that for 40% off if you use the code JNC40, or if you're interested in the kind of Truefire All Access Pass stuff, use the code JNC100 to get $100 off of the All Access Pass. Why am I holding these? On with the video.
Right, so the reason for making this particular video is that I started gigging a Telecaster maybe 3-4 weeks ago. So I did a video with the Sire T3, and I was thinking, well, I could probably gig this, and I thought, well, I need to take another Telecaster as a backup then, and I took, of course, the K-Line Truxton. This is, I guess, the closest thing to a Fender Telecaster that I have. And I actually have, this was the first Telecaster that I'd ever owned, really, unless you count a G&L Blues Boy, which I guess that was a thin line telly. But I had that when, maybe about 2014, 2013. This I built in 2015. It's a parts caster. I've done other videos on it. I guess what's relevant about this is that the neck on this is fairly skinny, and I string it with 11s. I have an Irvana nut. It's a Swamp Ash body, K-line pickups. We've got like an Alnico 2 in the bridge neck, and then in the bridge something else. I actually have this with the 4-way switch, which now that I've got it, I don't really think I need that, to be honest. I think a 3-way on a telly is perfectly fine, as an actress said to a bishop. Yeah, there's this position here is like them in humbucking mode, but I've never really used it, and to be honest, it kind of gets in the way of the others. So I watched last night a Keith from 5-Watt World. He's done a video on the Telecaster. Really interesting video, actually. Basically, the story starts around 1950, and it's important because this was the first, basically, mass-produced solid body guitar. Up until that point, you had builders like Gretsch and Gibson with their electric Spanish guitars, which were, hollow body. And for whatever reason, Leo Fender and George Fullerton kind of came up with this, which was kind of inspired by their lap steel guitars as well, the success of them apparently, and they quickly came up with this kind of design, which kind of took off almost immediately. They had designed the 2 pickup version apparently before it was released, but they were asked to release a single pickup version first, which was the Esquire, and then from there they then brought out the 2 pickup version, which I think is kind of the optimal setup for a telly, to be honest with you. I feel like it's versatile enough. The telly's not really changed that much from that initial design. Part of what was important about it was this 3 kind of brass saddles thing. I think a lot of people prefer that as an option. Of course, you can go for compensated saddles, but maybe this is part of what makes the character of this guitar, the ashtray bridge with 3 brass saddles. It's a really simple kind of design, as evidenced by the fact that I could put one together and it actually plays pretty good. I think the Telecaster is a guitar that you could take to basically any gig at all and get away with it. It's not a thing which kind of has any stigma attached to it. I mean, people know them to be versatile, I think. It's not even as pigeonholed as something like a Strat. Of course, you could see a Strat in many different contexts, but I think you could probably see a telly in even more, country gig, rock gig, metal gig, jazz gig, all of these types of situation, you've seen tellies being played. And I guess my favourite telly players might be Robin Ford, Ted Green and Alan Hines. I thought about that for a bit and kind of looked at some other famous telly players. That's one thing that it doesn't have so much of, in my opinion. I guess maybe because my influences are different to some other people. But the Strat, you have some really iconic, obvious players. And this was one of the things that I can remember Josh Smith saying for why he chose to go with a telly-shaped guitar for his main thing. Because, a lot of his idols played Strats, and he was finding it difficult to get away from kind of the shadow of that player, if that makes sense. And I can kind of think, if you think about someone like Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Johnson, all of the Strat players over the years, someone like John Mayer, there are so many iconic Strat players that maybe you feel like, it's too much of a shadow. Whereas telly players, of course, you've got people across the years as well. But I think, a lot of the time, the telly players that I'm familiar with tend to play other guitars as well. It's not so much a thing that anyone's particularly made their own in the same way that a Strat has. That could be total bollocks. If you can think of a player that has totally done it, then let me know. Ed Bicker, again, one of my other favourite players, a jazz player on a telly. But what was kind of, stood out to me about this was that my buddy Jake Loosemore just bought a Fender Custom Shop. I think a Blackguard kind of relic, heavy relic. and he's been gigging his as well, and we just said, you know, we hadn't really talked about it, and then gigging the Telecaster is, to me, been a little bit of a revelation. I used to gig this thing, but I don't know, this year, because I don't have that many gigs left this year, I've got about 6. I've been trying different stuff live, you know, like I tried the PRS SE DGT, really enjoyed playing that live. I've gigged the Les Paul a few times this year. I've tried my K-Line Strats live as well. I think at home a Strat is definitely where I feel most at ease playing wise and stuff like that. But I've actually found the Telecaster live works possibly even better. Probably a bit more stable tuning wise because you don't have a trem. Possibly a bit more sustained because you've got this kind of through body construction. I don't know whether that's the thing that people notice or not. It feels more kind of stable, more solid in some ways, but also a bit lighter because you don't have the trem block. This one is set up with a fairly low action as well, like not much relief, so very easy to play. This has a medium C neck, typical of most of Chris's guitars at K-Line. And yeah, I don't know, you don't notice when standing up the lack of some of the ergonomics of a Strat, I found. When you're playing a Tele stood up and stuff, it's just a super comfortable, lightweight, pretty sleek feeling instrument, but it has quite a lot of fight to it as well, which is kind of what I like about it. You know, one of the things with the DGT was that I felt like it almost, because you've got really high frets, which are super slick and nice to play, it almost feels a little bit like too easy, too effortless in some ways. I know it's a bit of a weird thing to say, but sometimes I think people get used to sort of fighting their guitars a little bit. But yeah, I think the Telecaster is possibly a guitar that almost anyone can find a use for, certainly at home in many, many genres. And yeah, I think I'm going to take these out and gig them again tonight. But I'm really enjoying that feeling of having a lightweight guitar that is super resonant, twangy, which is kind of what you get with the Tele, set up with some pretty fast feeling action. I definitely think it's the thing, and a very versatile guitar, as evidenced by the types of genres that you see people using them in. And also, they kind of have a really nice feel to the sort of rhythm, kind of chuggy stuff. I guess because you've got that fairly low bridge, as well as that kind of plenty of resonance going through the body. For rhythm playing as well, I really like the feel of them. So yeah, I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments, your favourite Teles. I did also play that Fender Ultra of Ryan's. I didn't love the neck shape of that one. And this one's got a skinny-ish neck, but I've set it up and it is still a C shape, and it's set up with 11s, so you can kind of get a little bit of a balance between having a thinner neck but with some heavier strings. I think it's quite a nice compromise. But yeah, really enjoying it. And I don't know, have you ever considered whether you need a Tele or not? As I say, I think the 3-position thing is the way that I have enjoyed it most of all. But a great instrument. Weird to think that this was kind of the first mass-produced electric design, and yet so enduring, and yet also feels so good to play. Actually, one design flaw similar to a Strat, that heel adjustment is a real bother. I think, yeah, that's the one downside for me. The positioning, for some reason, although I'm primarily a kind of Strat player, the positioning of these controls isn't a problem for me. I find them still pretty, they feel like they're in the right place to me still, whereas on some guitars that isn't the case. I don't know, Teles, isn't it? Enjoy your Tele. Oh, and preset wise, I was using the Fender Clean Tele preset for Helix, and then also the Dumble, what was it called? Dumble Gram preset. I'll put it in the description, hopefully. But it's the latest preset that I used in that Grammatico demo. Cheers.